mute myself. There we go, everyone. What's happening?
Hello, mate. How's it going?
I'm good. Look at this. I hope everyone in the chat give us a little signal. Let us know if you can hear us all right. Let's just quickly get a little bit of a signal from the chat. It sounds like in my head everything's working. We've been testing this off air.
It sounds good to me, mate.
Alright, yeah, it's like a proper pirate radio vibe again, mate. Just trying to like, chuck it on and see what happens. People are saying lots of noise from Skream. We've been trying to figure that out. There's a little bit of background noise on the mic and that.
I can turn myself down.
I can hear you alright. Is everyone in the chat happy? I know we got a little bit of background noise, but... Oh, hang about.
Is that better?
Oh, that's way better.
Yeah.
That is way better. Let me just turn...
Like everything I have is always whacked up full blast.
That sounds way better to me anyway. Let me turn this sort of like background music down a bit. Can anyone in the chat confirm that Skream's mic is louder and clearer now? There we go.
Yo.
That's better. Alright.
Cool.
I'm going to turn you up a touch more though. Let me just quickly get this.
As usual, innit?
Yeah. The redlining for the headlining. I'm going to bang you up a touch more before we get into the proper chat. Shout out everyone just joining us now. Let's just make sure that the guest is heard to the best of our abilities. And now that looks good to me. How are you doing, Skream? Can we hear you all right?
I'm good, mate. I'm sweet as a nut.
Nice. I got a nice level in my ears. Shout out everyone up in the chat. We got 100 people up in here already, which is pretty quick.
Hi, everybody.
We're coming to you straight out of Croydon, of course. Two different locations. We've been trying to do this for a while.
I've got to quickly shout someone out. My mate Glenn is watching, and by watching his Twitter, he decided to have some chocolate mushrooms before his dinner, and it's now backfired a bit. So. Yeah, hi Glenn.
Hi Glenn.
To you. But yeah, sorry, I had to get that out of the way before I forgot.
I wonder if he's going to remember that at the end of this.
He just thinks the telly's talking to him.
Yeah, his lockdown's just got a whole lot more interesting, that's for sure. Hey, shout everyone in the chat shouting out Glenn as well. That's good to see. But we've been meaning to do this for a while. You actually hit me up months ago and was like, let's sit down and have a chat, and we never really... Lockdowns just kind of got in the way quite a bit, and...
Just messed everything up in it, really. I think it goes without saying. But I think it's always been on the cards with me and you, really. I think, well, as we'll get into, we've been friends for such a long time.
Yeah.
As like, I think when I brought it up with you, I can't remember what the conversation we was having was, but it was just like, mate, we've done a lot together.
Yeah.
And I think specific, like we've known each other a long time, and even stuff outside of say necessarily dubstep. You know what I mean? It's we've been around each other a long time.
Exactly, yeah. This is like Croydon, the old school Croydon. What's the word? It's just like everyone kind of knows everyone, don't they? Like round here, it's weird, but yeah, I think like I was trying to think about this today before we jumped on. As like obviously the first time I met you, I think like real briefly would have been like obviously being in Big Apple in the shop and that. But I think we've had this conversation off air a few times in the past about it, and it always reminds. I think the main time that we really like met was obviously we were on our way to a gig or something, and I spotted you, didn't I, on the street in my car?
Right, there was 2 times, right. I was in West Croydon.
Yeah.
I don't think we was on our way to a gig. I think you pulled over and said, "Alright, mate, do you need a lift?"
Yeah, I was driving home.
Because we sort of knew each other, yeah. And like, you was probably thinking, what the hell is he doing at this time of night in West Croydon?
On your own, wandering around, yeah.
Yeah, I was had to meet a man about a dog. But then there was also the hospital waiting room.
Oh, that was the one that was the main area in which we bonded, I think.
You had curtains then. That was way back, like, because I think one of my mates got punched, like his mouth split open. I think one of your mates done something stupid.
Exactly. I remember. I can tell you exactly what it was. Right. I was working at Powell's, which was a wine bar in Croydon at the time, and we had our Christmas do, and it was me and my mate Steve, and I can't remember the girl's name, but she basically slipped over at the Christmas do and split her hand open on the floor on like a broken glass.
Absolute liability.
Yeah, me and Steve like got her to A&E, and when I got there, I sent you in there with your mate who'd had a fight. Shout out Smith on the
Granaries. It was at Granaries.
Granaries.
He had a fight at Granaries. Yeah, he got his mouth split open in Granaries.
Yeah. Man, I remember that. And then, yeah, I think we bumped into each other in the waiting room at A&E at about 3 in the morning.
Yeah. A&E, yeah.
So that was that. And then, obviously, the next few times after that, I think, was at, like, parties. So the early ones I remember was that one in Brixton at Porky's Wine Bar when we were, like, you was in Smooth Criminals and I was in I was in Fearless Crew, yeah. Yeah,
it was a clash, wasn't it? It was, but it was only me and Benga turned up for Smooth Criminals.
Yeah, so you had no MCs.
Yeah, everyone else had MCs. Like, we had tunes, we had big boy tunes of that.
Yeah.
It was like, we was well out our depth, and to be fair, it was moody, wasn't it?
It was proper moody, yeah.
The boys who won it, I can't remember, the boys who won it, they had a Mario dub. Like
I was just going to bring that up.
It was sick,
Super Mario.
Yeah,
it turned the dance upside down, and basically they gave all the crews like 15 minutes each, didn't they? And it was like, I was there with, our crew was like, we had too many people. You had the problem with having no MCs. We had two DJs and 3 MCs all trying to get on in 15 minutes. And the other DJ that was in our crew was kind of like a bit of a outsider, but he'd got himself into this clash somehow because he was mates with one of the MCs. And I remember our bit came on and it was like we got 15 minutes. He's like, I'll go first, yeah? And I was like, 15 minutes, I don't really know much about this guy. I don't know if he's going to like flop it for us. But he spent about 10 minutes trying to mix one record. So I'm standing there waiting to get started. And yeah, basically we got about 2 tunes in 15 minutes and it didn't go well. And like you said...
Well. Like, I thought, me and Benny, we thought like, we rolled there. Like, we rolled solo, we got a cab there.
Yeah.
Like, and then couldn't get a cab home, and it got really moody outside. I remember that, and we thought we were going to go there and win.
Yeah,
like,
I think we did as well.
Like, I imagine everyone did, but like, can you imagine just me and Benny turning up? We weren't even. Well, we must have still been at school.
You would have been young, yeah, because I was young then. I would have been like 19, I think, when that happened, and you're a fair few years younger than me, so you would have been like school age probably. Yeah,
because otherwise. Yeah, it must have been, because we went to college together. We'll get onto that later, but we must have been. Benny must have been still defo still at school. If even I might have been 16 and he might have been 15.
Someone in the chat just wrote Tensor D, and I thought that is like of that era, isn't it? Tensor.
I wish he was with me. Yeah, I wish he would have been with us.
Might have done a bit better then, isn't it?
Well,
do you know what happened to me after that? Have I ever told you the story of what happened after it?
Wait, I know a story. Is it the chicken shop one?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure whether to bring it up or not.
Yeah, I'll bring it up because it weren't me really, but we went to a chicken shop after that, and so I was driving, and me and the rest of the lads, there was like 5 of us in total, so it was only my little Vauxhall Nova. There was like tiny little car, and this other lad, the DJ who we barely knew. We all went chicken shop, got chicken, and went sat in the car, and I was waiting for like him and one of the other MCs to come back. And he sprinted past the car and he's like banged the window, and we're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, we thought we were being jumped or something like by someone. And then he's jumped in the car, he's like, go! I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What's going on, bruv? And then they're having an argument in the car. His mate's calling him a dickhead. What the fuck are you doing, bruv? Like, what idiot are you, a dickhead? Like, basically, this geezer who turned up to DJ in our crew that night decided it was a good idea to rob the chicken shop and then jump in my car, and I had to play fucking getaway driver. And I'm halfway down the road, didn't know nothing about it until...
Mate, do you know what? You told me that, like, not recently, but not, like, obviously around that time. I remember you telling me about it. I fucking pissed myself. I did.
Mate, I did not know what was going on. I'm driving down the road, down London Road in Norbury, and we get close to where I was living at the time, and I'm finding out that I'm literally driving away from the scene of a crime with a bloke who's nicked about 20 quid out of a chicken shop till. Mate.
Just imagine him flying the till.
Mate, the next time I saw that guy after that was in 1921, and he was
Up the 1921.
Yeah, he was grinding. Remember Lindsay Dawn Mackenzie,
Of course
the
I
Page
do.
Three girl?
She lived next to our college.
Yeah, well, he was grinding her in 1921. I was like, is that fucking geezer who robbed a chicken shop? And there he was.
So he was on his way up in the world.
He moved on to bigger things, so to speak. Bigger things.
But then,
Man,
I guess from there, I guess it would sort of, it would go on. Then it'd be more. Then I suppose our relationship
that was like
more.
That was like the garage, the end of the garagey thing, wasn't it? And playing all the house parties and that, and then
Definitely, yeah. And then there was the sort of.
I think after that it was sort of like
come and do a mix at Benger's.
Yeah, because we had some mutual friends with Benny as well, and I'd met Benny playing a few parties and that in Croydon, so I kind of knew him. And you know, when I think the main catalyst for all of us lot getting to know each other was actually Hatcher in the shop, and I knew that he was playing bits of music from people that were going through the shop, and at that time I was trying to get my head into it. I really wanted to play new music, and I knew he was playing music by you and Benny.
Yeah.
And I think it was like trying to figure out a way to get my hands on those tunes, the same way it was for people like N-Type and that. Really, I think back then it was like, oh, we know, like that's the geezer who made that tune that Hatcher's been playing. So naturally, it's like,
but you've got to ask Hatcher.
Exactly, yeah, you got to ask Hatcher for it, and he wouldn't tell you who made it either. But whispers sort of floating through the record shop was that you and Benga were making these tunes, and I think N-Type might have introduced me to Benny, like properly.
Yeah, because that Red Hill connection.
Yeah, I think that was it. And then after that, it was, I don't know whose party it was, but I think N-Type played at a party. What was like
in Bar Metro.
Yeah, like a week after the first Forward.
Bar Metro. I think I was in there because again another Croydon. There was a big beef happened in there with me and someone, and then it got really out of hand outside. And but I do remember, because he turned up and played the Storm dub.
Yes, exactly.
The Storm dub of a Wookiee tune. That was an Alpha and all that. I was with Alpha and all that.
I remember it well.
Luckily I was with Alpha and that because I had my back that day. But yeah, it would have been then, and that sort of got ended early. Do you remember Bar Metro? It was like
Aggie.
It was like Aggie, but like you could get in underage. It was like the geezer who owned it. Everyone knew him. Like my dad and that knew him, and Mickey B. Mickey B. No, Mickey B was the Sells Juniors football trainer. I think it was
I used to play for them.
Shank. Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
But I guess around that time, and then so if it was the Storm dub, that was the first thing. Well, one of the first things Hatcher cut.
Yeah, I remember it because I heard it at that first Forward, and no one knew who made it. And then Benga played it at that party, and N-Type cornered him. He was like, "You made this tune. And N-Type was on him. N-Type was like right on him, and I was like, "Did he make that tune?" Yeah, and I think. I didn't get onto him for the Storm dub, but after that I got talking to him. I think I saw him in the record shop maybe the day after that, and that is when I was like, oh, you make these tunes. Could you, like back then it was like a mini disc and stuff. Like, oh, could you get me a mini disc?
It was mini disc. It was that was before.
That was like the best quality. Yeah.
It was our first means of recording, mine and Benga's. Like we weren't burning CDs at that point.
No,
like,
I didn't.
Like, I was still at school. Because I've got there's mini discs at my mum's house somewhere of my first tunes. Hatcher's still got some. Obviously.
Yeah, I've got my first pirate show on a mini disc somewhere, but I've got no way at the moment of recording.
Absolutely no way. It's pure deleted. It didn't last long, did it?
Yeah, I've definitely got it somewhere in my mum and dad's house though. I need to like dig that out. Some like old like Desire FM weekend show in some kid's front room in Wallington. His mum and dad had no idea what was going on, running a pirate radio station in his mum and dad's front room. It was good times.
Do you remember? Did you ever do the pirate radio with Fresh and Steady that was in It was in
Is it in
in
Sutton?
basically a. No, well, no, there was that. That was Flight. Not Flight. That
Flight,
was
yeah.
yeah, Flight. But then before then, there was the next one that was in It was in a Morley. It was in a derelict Morley's, like freezer around the back.
No, I
Basically,
never went
if
to
the
that.
place, if it would have caught fire, I remember it was one of my first pirate shows.
Would have tasted good, though.
I played
Smelled
with them.
good.
Well, that mate, it was we'd have been dead. We was like in the freezer, like near death experiences and pirate radio shows go hand in hand. But that was
That's true.
thinking about it, like that's defo. Well, I forgot all about that until just then.
I think one of my first pirate sort of experiences around that time as well was Hatcher. He always used to be like, "Oh, what are you doing? Do you want to come radio?" He used to drag loads of us to radio, and I think I went
Because
once.
he needed a car buddy so he wouldn't fall asleep on the way home.
That, yeah, and he needed someone to show off to, like in his little Renault 5 that he was driving around. Do you remember that? Shout out Hatcher, right? Hatcher's the only guy in the world who used to put Evian in his car he used to put Evian in his car in the water. He wouldn't put normal tap water in it. Put Evian in it.
Fuck's sake, that's actually true.
He used to
I
put
forgot all
Evian
about
in his
that.
car. Do you know what else used to be funny? He used to get you all in his car and then he'd make you listen to his latest mixtape at full
Oh,
volume.
mate.
Couldn't have a
There was
conversation.
there weren't nothing else like that got played in the car. If you wanted to play him tunes, you played them to him at his house.
Yep,
But in his car, Hatcher mixed these only.
yep. And he had the little graphic equaliser in his car as well, didn't he? He
Yeah,
had, like,
yeah,
some-
a little bouncy one. And and he would play it so loud and smoke so much skunk that
Yes.
you'd be melted into the seat.
Yeah.
And like, I remember Hatcher first picked me up I was after school one day. He knew he just started working at Big Apple and he see me in Selsdon High Street. He was like, "Oh, do you need a lift?" And I remember thinking, I don't like him. He's a wanker. He woke me up the other day. Basically, what it was on a Saturday morning, John and Arthur had sent Hatcher to find my brother. Hold tight, hijack, because I think he's in the group tonight.
Oh, we're gonna get into some talks about him as well. Don't worry about that.
And and then I was like, Hatcher offered me a lift, and I was like, no, I'm alright. And then he offered me a fag, so I got in, and he dropped us home, and that was was one of the first times I proper gelled with him.
Back in the day,
and then-
there was people coming to school telling you don't take sweets off strangers, but you took fags off of one. Oi. Is that how you used to get dubs? Yeah, cigarettes.
Imagine Woodbines.
Classic.
Woodbines for dubs.
No, that's jokes. Yeah, but he was kind of like the catalyst. Everyone kind of met via Hatcher because everyone was making tunes, basically hoping he would play them on the radio. I think that was what kind of made me want to figure out.
Yeah,
what I was doing
yeah.
a bit more.
I think to a degree, I think. Well, obviously it goes without saying, but the shop
Yeah,
the shop is the seed. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? The shop was the seed because look, it's how I met Benny. So like it's how I met everyone really.
it's true. Yeah, I used to spend hours in there because I was working in Croydon. I used to get a 2-hour lunch break when I was working at Powers, and I used to stand in there. And I went like, they must have thought I was a weirdo because some days I'd stand in there not really talking to anyone for like an hour, just listening to people.
That's
like,
the intro. I've said this on. This has been printed in text before, but the first time I went in there, I was with my mum in the market, so I was really young. But I knew my brother worked there, and I walked in and just did the thing that I later learned in life is the worst thing you can do to someone who works in a record shop, and asked them for a song that was right at the top of the record stacks.
Yeah.
Asked them to get it down so I could listen to it.
And then didn't buy it.
I said no and walked out.
Yeah.
But I think I was walking in there to see if my brother was in there. I think that was the sort of thing so I could be like, alright Jack, like, do you know what I mean?
Trying to get, yeah. I was well intimidated the first few times I went into Big Apple because, you know, like I went in there and I was really intrigued. I wanted to buy records, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I just started to listen to pirate radio. And I remember going in there with my mate Chris Nicolau after college one day, and we'd never been in, but we didn't really know like how to even go about getting records. So we walked in, and you know, like at the back of the shop there was those stairs that went up to the listening area. So we
yeah.
went in and we're kind of standing there, like looking around. There's a few other kids in there, as it was always busy in there. And me and my mate Chris just went up the stairs. And John's gone, "Oi, where are you going? Where are you going?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, just going upstairs." And he went, "Well, you need some records first." And I was like, "Okay." And we came down, and my mate Chris,
Hate.
mate, I was just like felt so intimidated. And my mate Chris was trying not to laugh because he was feeling like how embarrassing it was as well. But he was trying not to laugh, right? And then I've gone to John. I'll get that one, and that one, and that one, and John started picking them off the shelf, and he's making a pile, and then like I'm expecting him to give me the pile to like go upstairs, and then he just started playing them on the record decks in the shop, and we're standing. He's like, "Do you want that one?" And I'm like, "No, next one, please." And my mate Chris is there, and he's like sitting there like that, like he's trying not to laugh because we're getting baited up so hard in the shop. After about 3 records, I was like, "It's okay, actually, mate, thank you." And I left, and I swear to God, I shopped in Wax Records, Wax City, for about 3 months after that. I wouldn't step foot in Apple because I was so embarrassed about it.
Do you know what? Right? Tying things together. One of the first people who took me seriously when I was a kid, when I was like 12, 13 as a DJ, was a DJ called Preacher. His real name was Dan Hassan, and he worked in Wax.
Yeah, Wax.
So,
We had Wax. We had Swag down the road as well. So I used to pop my head in those for a bit until I like plucked the courage up to go back in.
I was never allowed in Swag. It was like you'd be banned from Apple if you went in Swag.
Once,
but the thing is, I buy so many songs from like House and Minimal from the old Swag labels there. That was
yeah.
They were specialists of more minimal, really.
But a lot of people don't realise. Someone was putting me onto this a couple of years ago that there's some truth behind the fact that the people that were working in Swag Records back then started Tech House, and I was like looking into it.
Yeah, well, a lot of records they used to release. What are they called? I bought loads of it. I bought every white label released Swag release. From that time, well, from early
Yeah,
like
I had no idea.
Tech House to like obviously not what it is now.
Yeah,
I'd say it's more in tune with like what Fuse do.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's pretty spot on to be fair. But what I've heard of it, I had no idea. I was like, what? Tech House comes from Croydon? What the fuck? And then I started listening to it.
We've got another one.
Yeah, we'll claim it. We'll have it. We'll take that one. We'll have them all. Any other genres going, just let us know. So yeah, that was it. But then I think the same thing for me was that once I did get accustomed with the culture and the traditions of Apple, once I was in there, I very rarely went elsewhere because it was like then I felt like if I was buying records, I was buying them in Apple.
It's the hardest thing going into rock shops. So because I was breaking into my brother's room to use his decks, I wasn't allowed. I was told I wasn't allowed because obviously I was so young. And I just basically used to ruin all his records, and break his needles. So I know the feeling of going into record shops the first time because I remember going to Bluebird in Bromley to get records.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Because I couldn't go into Big Apple because I'd be like, well, why are you buying? Like my brother would be like, why are you buying records for? And I'd be like, don't know. So like I used to go, but the only other one I went to was Bluebird. I went to Bluebird to buy my brother some. This is quite sweet, actually. But I didn't know what to get my brother for Christmas, and I went to Bluebird to buy him some records. And I bought all the records I was listening to on tape, like Steve Gurley stuff and that. And when I give them to him, he was like, "Mate, like you don't got to buy me records. I get them for free at the record shop." But he said keep them. So it was sort of
that was the beginning of your collection.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I think around the time I started buying records, I bet all of the money I'd spent in those first few shops, I couldn't even tell you what those songs were. Apart from, I think Destiny was one of the first ones I bought. Apart from that, I probably don't play much of the other ones that I bought in my initial.
Some Treat, Lost in Vegas. Some Treat. That was one of the first. That was like when I was going to under 18s. That was the one.
I love that record, man. You can play that now. It sounds like really good against like.
Still such a belter, mate. Still such a belter.
Banging tune, mate. So, we'll fast forward a little bit. I don't want to like go too mad because this is all still very relevant. But in terms of like them early trips to Forward, even maybe before anyone knew who you was. You know, like we was travelling up with the same thing for me, like going to Forwards. First couple of times I went on my own, and then Hatcher invited me to come up with his lot, and I was like, he's like, oh, we're getting a limo up there because it's cheaper than getting taxis or driving, and everyone can have a beer. And I was like, all right. He's like, yeah, you just got to chip in like 20 quid each or whatever. He probably made money out of it, knowing Hatch. He probably doubled his fee. He probably doubled his forward fee.
Someone definitely was.
Yeah. So he had 2 stretch limos pick us up outside Big Apple, and I didn't know anyone, and I remember getting lumped in the second limo.
Was I in that? Because
you weren't in mine.
To go.
Oh, right.
At one point, I wasn't allowed to go. My mum wouldn't let me.
Well, you definitely weren't in my limo. If you was, you might have been in the front one, because the front limo was it was like wild.
Everyone who knew each other.
Everyone who knew each other had just smoking in there. They've got the windows open. They got tunes blaring. They've got beers flying out the window on the way up there and that. And we was in the second one, and I didn't know no one. I'm like, I remember being sat next to like Fresh and Steady, and I met them on the way up, and then I can't tell you who else was in there. But at the time, I didn't know anyone. I was just like this quiet kid in the limo. And then Hatcher played Hardgraft at that Forwards. It was the first time any of my records had got played at Forwards. The only other DJ who played my stuff before them was N-Type on Delight and Slimzy. And I think it took Slimzy playing my stuff to Hatcher to go give me an exclusive. And I gave him Hardgraft. And when he played that at Forward, he reloaded it. And I think Fresh and Steady knew that was by me. So on the way home, everyone was like, give me a number, I need that tune, blah blah. You know what it was like back then. And
you gave it to them, and then I imagine beef ensued.
Yeah. Mate, yeah, this is it. Hatcher was very careful about the tunes he played. He didn't like other people having them at all. It weren't just the tunes though, it was the producers, wasn't it? It was like,
it was more the producer.
He didn't want you to give your tunes to other people. Once you were in, Hatcher was just like, that's mine. That's it. Anything new for me, give it to me first. If you don't like it, then you can give it to someone else. But he just used to lock people down.
It weren't even like you could give it to someone else. We was on strict lock. Like, we couldn't even give tunes that he didn't want to other people. But I remember when things started picking up for me and Benny. Because we just grouped together.
Yeah.
But he left a voicemail on Neil Jaloffi. For anyone who doesn't know, Neil Jaloffi is
he ran Temper at the time and Forward. And
ran Temper, ran Ammunition, which was all the labels with Umbrella. Like, that was an umbrella to all the labels.
It was Temper, Vehicle. They ran Forward. They ran
Road.
They looked after Road. It looked after Zinc's label, Bingo. They looked after Stealth
People,
Ghost.
Yeah.
Basically,
Ghost, yeah.
If you remember dubplate.net, that was their website as well.
Massive touch, dubplate.net.
Yeah, dubplate.net forum. That was like the early days of the community building online.
That is where I was at school then, because in the last year, or the last 2 years at school, we was allowed to use the internet, and everyone was like playing games, like Super Mario games and that. And I was just sitting there on dubplate.net, like on
seeing
the
what
forum
people was talking about.
Seeing what beef was in Manchester at the time.
Mate, I was just gonna say that website just turned into a forum for like 12-year-old kids from Manchester beefing each other. It was like, it weren't even about music. I think they just went on there because back then you didn't have social media, but it was treated like by a few colleges in Manchester. So it probably started off with a couple of like crews going on there, but then it was all the crews fans beefing each other, and then it was just kids from colleges in Manchester and schools in that chat, just like talking about shanking people and stuff.
I think one of the famous people from dubplate.net really would be Blizzard.
Blizzard, yeah.
Blizzard was like an 8-year-old MC.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on there. And like Shifty
MC.
Shifty and all that lot, all of the Mancunian grime crews basically was in there.
JCD versus JFB versus fucking Gooch boys. It was like
Gooch mans. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just absolute ag, but it had no relevance to the music that was being shared on there.
Nah, absolutely. No, so someone in the chat saying, is it dubstepforums.com? No, that was later. That was again really late. Dubplate.net was a website.
www.dubplate.net.
Yeah, it was a website where the people that ran all those labels and Forward and all of those things basically used to go on there and put snippets of stuff that was forthcoming, so it was like you could hear unreleased bits. This is way before like iTunes and all that kind of stuff as well, so like even just digital files of anything like that, it was like the only place. So like that's probably where people
WMPs,
like,
wasn't it?
yeah, exactly,
WMP
yeah,
files.
or
It was
RAM
before
files as well.
Yeah, it was before Apple had the online.
It was all that real player files and that. It was so you
Sorry,
could sort of
I need to point out. I keep looking down. It might look like I'm falling asleep or something. I'm looking at the
am I
the
that
group.
boring it? Yeah,
No, you know what I mean. I'm looking. I'm just looking at what's being said on my phone.
I'm quite fortunate. I've got the chat just above my line of sight here, so I can see it. But,
Listen, mate, I've just got a webcam. I've just got internet in my studio for the first time ever. Like not like only if like 4 months ago or something.
listen, what I'm saying, like Oliver's only just like learned how to work an iPhone, so like it's great having him on. For someone who makes good tunes, he's not the most technically minded. Bless him.
I'll tell everyone who's been trying to get hold of me in 2021. I've literally just got a phone sorted last week. But to be fair, it was an absolute fucking joy not having a phone.
Yeah, it was, but it is a 3310, just to let everyone know out there. It's a Nokia.
But right, so where was we at? We was at Forward, yeah. So the limos.
Yeah,
So
going
the
out to
famous-
Forward and the
famous
limos. Learning, like hearing your tunes in Forward the first time. Like I think that's one of my most vivid memories of growing up doing music, was like those moments hearing your tunes played at Forward and hearing yours as well. I think like when I heard a lot of your early stuff,
Cape
like
Fear, I think there was
Cape Fear.
early ones. There was one. I think the first one of mine, the first one of Benga's was Dose. It was a very early mix of Dose. Boom, ba boom, boom, ba boom.
I've got a load of these files.
That was at the opening. The opening night. Well, the first one that was the opening night.
That was the one that was on the B side of Skank, wasn't it? In the end, Dose.
Yeah, but it was actually the first. It was the tune that got Benga signed Dose.
Yeah.
But the version that came out was like a pumped up, mixed down later on version. So that was made in 2002. I think the first tune I got played there was a song called, which I don't have, and I've asked Hatcher and he can't even seem to find it. It was called For the Headstrong, and I can still remember the bass.
I don't know if I know that.
You wouldn't have it. Like,
oh,
no
wait. Is it in that old Hatcher mix? Wait there. Was it in that Hatcher mix that was doing the rounds many way back?
No, what, the 2002 one?
Yeah, that one that he copied up on tape for everyone. Everyone got a copy of it on tape.
Possibly.
Let me see. Wait there. I was listening to it earlier. Let me just see if I can find it. 1 second. Because I feel like I know the tune you're on about. Wait there. Wait. Oh, no. I was listening to this. No. I'll get into it another day. I'll find it. I'll be here all night, like listening to like bits of this mix, and people will be like, "Just don't what?" So yeah, there's some bits in there of yours that I'm pretty sure that that I still not
The
haven't
first
seen
one,
daylight.
I haven't got them. Like, I still ain't got them. I need to go to Hatches to go through, because he said he won't just send them to me. I have to go there to go through them. But the first one for me, I think that proper went off was either The Bug or Cape Fear. I think Cape Fear came before The Bug.
Cape Fear, for me, I remember Cape Fear. I remember Dysfunctional Minds.
I've just got to point out before, no, not KMA's Cape Fear. I did a bootleg of KMA's Cape Fear.
Yeah, so Cape Fear. Conga was another one of the early ones, I think. I remember. Dysfunctional Minds.
Jada Flex, Hatcher never played Conga. Jada Flex did.
Right. Yeah, because Jada Flex was on One Extra. When One Extra launched, Jada Flex was like the dubstep DJ on there. Well, he wasn't just dubstep though, was he? He was playing a lot of broken beat stuff, because he was like in with the co-op lot.
Breakier side, yeah.
Yeah. He was like in with Oris J, and you know he was in the Ghost movement as well. So he was like doing a bit of everything. He was in there with the co-op lot as well. So he was playing a lot of the stuff that was getting played by like like Sedgy, exactly, Sedgy, Bugs in the Attic, all of that kind of stuff. And he was right into that, and I think like there was this weird moment in dubstep before it really blew up where, like, you might remember it as well. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it might have been around 05 before things really picked up, where Hatcher got really busy playing in garage bookings again, Jada started playing like mostly broken beat on his show. He was trying to like position himself that way, and it did feel a little bit like it weren't. You know, we'd been doing it for a few years up to that point, and it never really was. It weren't really kicking on. It's like it was still the same 50 to 100 people at Forward every month.
I call that, for me, that period of time, I call it the Folly days, because I basically spent every day
at the Folly.
Called the Folly.
Yeah, I know the Folly. Yeah, in Croydon.
And I was like, and to be fair, that period you're talking about, it was quiet.
There was no gigs really. There was a few, but not a lot.
We're forgetting, like, there's bits we've missed, like obviously Judgment and stuff like that come out, but then we're talking. Yeah. I think actually, Judgment
you're right.
And Dubstep All Stars 1. I think that sort of happened, and then it sort of started again.
Yeah,
because it was either that or it was a couple of years later. Or request line. So I remember being in Mala, being in
That's another stream.
Being in Zante or Malia, and there was DJ mags all across, like the English news agent there, and I just was flicking through, and I think it was request line, or it was either request line or Judgment, but it was like
you got a little review in there. And
it had a whole page.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, fuck, I need to get home. As if I had the money to just fly home. But
you had to finish. You've had to finish that pint of headfucker you had in your hand at the time. Like, well, done that. Smoke 18 fakes. Yeah.
Shelved it.
But this just to touch on that as well, like, because for a lot of people that are watching this whole Malia thing, right? Listen, culturally. And this is another thing about like coming from Croydon and growing up in Croydon, is that as much as everyone from like all over the world, I know that they have this picture in their head of Croydon being this like almost like fucking Detroit or Seattle or some like mad place where this really cool scene. Croydon is like the most mainstream place you can come from. It's like you went out on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you were listening to Nelly and Kelly and nothing else. It was like literally that. You had to wear shoes and collar to get in everywhere, and you went on holiday with all your mates to Malia or Ayia Napa or Kavos, Zante. So like, and then when you go there, you do exactly the same thing, but just in better weather. And the drinks were a lot cheaper, and you didn't have to wear shoes and a collar. So going heavy-handed on holiday,
you could wear 3/4 lengths.
Yeah,
everyone wore 3/4 lengths in a polo shirt.
Mate, sleeveless tops, sleeveless shirt. Not for me. I didn't have the guns.
Mate, I was about 6 stone dripping wet round them times.
Oh my god, looking like a heartthrob out here as well. Do you know what I mean? Curtains down to here and shit, like beach vibes. little beady necklace. Oh, don't buying photographs on the strip the next night when someone's been around. You know what I'm talking about? Everyone's been there. I do. With a parrot or something. Oh, don't. Mate, there's people in the chat that definitely know what we're talking about as well, but there's a culture of going on holiday with all of your mates, like a group of 20, and doing nothing but booze for 2 weeks, 14 nights, doing nothing in between, eating McDonald's every day if it's available, and drinking and nothing else, sitting around the pool in the afternoon. That's all we did.
Mate, I went hard. I can't remember one of them. Like, I've always been able to have booze, right? Like, I've always been able to drink more than other people.
I know you have, mate. We're going to get into that in a bit as well.
But I remember getting, I can't remember if it was Zante or Malia, or no, Kavos. I can't remember which ones I went, but I got alcohol poisoning. I was at the game for like 2 days, yeah.
I thought you were immune to that, mate. I didn't.
Upon arrival, I had 8. Like, nobody would drink ouzo out of my lot. I drank everyone's ouzos, yeah. So I had about 12 ouzos upon arrival. I was still up 2 days later. Booze. I remember the last thing I drank was a bottle of peach schnapps, and it just must have just done us in, mate. Because I remember laying in my room, yeah, and like anybody can say whatever they want. There was no other drugs involved, like no hallucinogens or anything. But I was laying in my room, sweating, like just puking, and I kept thinking someone was in my room running about. swear down. And like, when my mate I was sharing the room come back, I said, "What was you fucking about earlier?" He said, "Mate, we've been out. Like, you was asleep when we left. Like, we've been out all day on some bike ride, like some moped ride or something." But mate, like some absolute serious boozing going on them.
Man, that whole era of my life is like a really weird blur. Like I've tried to sit down with all my mates who went on them holidays and like piece together like more than 2 memories from each holiday. It's impossible because like every night was the same night. The only things I remember was the outfits me and my mates were wearing, like when we got dressed up.
You lot was extravagant, weren't you?
Yeah. We invented fancy dress basically. Is like the long and short of it. No, but do you know what we did do? You know those unitards.
Listen, you was very ahead of your time. Like I know that. Like,
mate,
the morph suits.
Everyone knows what a morph suit is now, but we wore them. They weren't called
morph
suits.
What they was.
We found them in China on a website. Managed to get in contact with a company through eBay, bought one, and then no one knew what the hell was going on. We was walking around in those what became morph suits. People were asking us,
Rangers, basically.
Yeah, people was asking us, where'd you get that from? And we wouldn't tell anyone, yeah. And then some clever geezer found out where. We told another group of lads from Croydon who were going on holiday once where we got them. So they went and got them. And they had the smart idea of buying extra ones that on their night out, because everyone asks you, what are you wearing? Where'd you get that from? They were selling them out of they had them like tucked down their suit, going, what, do you want one? Do you want to buy one? They were selling them on their holiday. One geezer who bought one off them went home, found out where they got them from, and he made a business out of it. Called it Morph Suits. Morph Suits turned over 3 million in their first year of trading. They bought out all of the biggest Jesters. You know, Jesters, the fancy dress shop. They bought that out.
Yeah.
They became the biggest fancy dress company in the UK.
That's them boys who are Jesters, yeah.
Mate, they bought it out.
Sick.
And that all come from an idea that we had that we didn't want no one to know about. So that's how smart I was in business back then.
This sounds like UK dubstep versus US dubstep, doesn't it?
I know. We didn't see the market in. We were like, no, fuck that. I'm underground, man. I'm keeping this tight. We don't want anyone playing with these morph suits. Keeping it here. Keep it locked down. But yeah, that's how morph suits started. It started with me and my mates wearing them on holiday and not telling anyone where to get them from. But that's almost a podcast on its own.
I really don't know who in the messages GR1NKO is.
Okay, yeah, he's been popping in there with a few like Croydonian legends, so it's definitely a local.
Said he's been back to my brother's rave shed.
Oh, I mean that's a whole episode right there. The lodge.
Trying to figure out who it is, but
I don't know. I don't really know what we can talk about in terms of going to the lodge. I don't know how like stream friendly any of those. Yeah, nothing. Literally, nothing. I'm not getting into any of that.
What happens in the lodge stays in the lodge.
Literally that. We can't talk about the lodge. But shout out Hijack. If we could talk about the lodge, we could sell the rights to Netflix and make an actual like series out of it. But just no one can use their real names and. No real true likenesses.
There's one time that we can't get into details. But do you remember when it was just me and you? Just me and you. I got the kid. I sit ourselves in, and he turned up like, "What the fuck are you two doing in here?"
It was like 3 PM the next day. He came home and we was in this. Oh my god.
Oh fucking. Oh, well, yeah. Go into detail.
Nah, a part of me wishes, but at the same time, I know as soon as we start talking, I'll be like,
we'll get in trouble.
Yeah, we're not trying to get cancelled out here. Definitely not. So maybe if we were having this chat 3 years ago, before like people started thinking about what they were talking about.
Before cancel culture, mate, we'd have been game.
Mate, yeah, we would have got ourselves in a shitload of trouble. But yeah.
So right, where are we at? So we've gone.
We'll be on a tangent. Yeah, but we grew up in Croydon. We've been doing this thing. Music's interesting, but it's not really taking off. We're all doing our thing at Forward. There was a few little nights, obviously the one we threw in Croydon. We could talk about that. That time you got arrested in Croydon.
We've got to talk about it now, haven't we? Just dropped it straight on everyone's lap.
Because we got people in the chat talking about Black Sheep, but Black Sheep was very late. That was much. That was like years ahead of all
late.
this.
That was towards the end of it.
That's about 5. Yeah, definitely. That was more like 5 or 6 years after what we're talking about here. So I threw a night with my mate Dave called Filthy Dub, and it was one of the first nights outside of Forward that went on, and a lot of us like. I played at it before I played at Forward, and like we had like Mark 1, we had Slimsy come, we had Skream and Benga. Loafer. It was Loafer's first dubstep gig. I think it was one of your first dubstep gigs, wasn't it? In that sense, like the Filthy Dub, yeah. So, a lot of
it
us
was the
that
first.
yeah, a lot of us that went forward but hadn't got booked yet. So apart from Hatcher, not many of the Croydon lot had really got, and Benny Hill and Hatcher, and maybe Artwork were probably the only ones that might have played forward before that from our lot. So it was more like, oh, we all want to have a go, and we ran a night in Croydon. But you know, we've already explained what Croydon was like. The police didn't know what was going on. The town centre was not ready for it. And I think we did our second event, didn't we? The first one went all right, and they wanted to give us another
No,
go.
the first one.
Was it the first one?
I
thought it was the second one that you got
It
arrested
was the
at.
purple one. Purple
Yeah,
one.
the second.
Or
No,
was
wait,
it the
the
red one.
I thought it was the
Sorry,
red.
we're talking about flyers.
Flyers,
We're talking
yeah.
about flyers.
I might be wrong, but either which way, police went down in there because they didn't like the look of the clientele, because it was very non-Croydon. There was people queuing up in trainers and stuff to get into the club on a Thursday, which was unheard of back then. And we went in there, and then we had police coming in unmarked with like decibel meters trying to shut it down on noise. They were trying to find any excuse they could to shut it down, and in the end, you got marched out of there because your mate who owed you 50 quid gave you 50 quid at the bar, and they decided that was a drug deal going down, carted you off to the police station with Chef, and
Listen,
couldn't find, eventually had to let you go, right?
No, they didn't let me go, mate. I got
Oh, you was in there overnight, wasn't you?
And with about 10 police on my back, but
Oh, I remember kneeling
I
on
know
your
that
back.
sounds. I know people are automatically going to look into that as saying Kells. There's a million and one stories where what I could tell you, which are probably what you think they are. But this was, someone was lending me £50 because I'd spent all my money already being out, and I only had like 40 quid or something. And then the bouncers see the 50 quid get given to me, frog march me up the stairs, and then next thing I kicked off as a 18-year-old does,
Yeah.
and
You was
ended up
being
with-
knelt on outside. I remember coming out, and there
then
was a
Mark,
geezer with his
and then
knee
Mark,
in your
of
back.
Virus Syndicate turned up.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Ollie, are you alright? I was like, does it fucking look like I'm alright? And I've got about 8 police on my back. But yeah, it was a funny one. Listen, do you want to play a tune or something? I really need to go for a piss.
Yeah, all right, I'll do that. Let me find a tune. Let's get a bit of this Hatcher classic dubstep mix on in the background, just while Skream goes for a break. I'll see what's happening in the chat.
Cool, mate, I'm putting this there. I'm trying to piss.
All right, mate.
What is it?
So we're in the studio having a chat with Skream. He's just gone for a toilet. Yeah, it was loud, but you know, some respect for the music. You know what I'm saying? How's everyone doing anyway? We got a lot of people in the chat. Hatcher is the rash guy. He is definitely the rash guy. We'll get into that as well. What does that mean? Hatcher's got this thing where he will sit in an interview with you. What's the track ID? This is called Jackknife by Mentor. Hatcher had this thing where like he would embarrass you in front of someone who was interviewing you for a magazine or something like that, right? So if you were sat down being interviewed by a journalist, Hatcher would always make a point of coming into the room and going, "Chris, you alright, mate? You alright, Tel? Did you get that rash sorted out? Did you finish up with that cream that I told you about? Yeah, but did it work?" To embarrass you, talking about this rash you've got. Man, I had to deal with this so many times. I think, in fact, on that Dubstep documentary, we even did it. He come in and done it there. He used to get us all the time. Here he is. He's back. That was quick.
Yeah, sorry, mate. You know what? I've been pissing more than usual today. Just thought I'd let everyone know that.
Oh right, yeah. It comes with age, mate.
No, but I said to Chloe earlier, I said, I lay your money, I'm going to need to keep pissing during the stream. And she went, oh, well, you know what everyone's going to start saying about you, didn't you?
Listen, see, Skream, yeah, he can do an 8-hour set with no piss, but as soon as you sit down for 5 minutes to chat, it's game over, mate.
Hey, but do you know what, though? Do you know what? It's well true. I can piss just before I play, like 10 hours, man. I'm sound.
I've had that, when you do those long sets, if you don't go for a piss, you're all right. But the minute you've done one, you're fucked.
Yeah, you fuck it. You fuck it for yourself.
Yeah. No, I've had the same thing as well. Like, I think I did an 8-hour set just before lockdown. One of the last gigs I did was at I played it all night at what used to be the Alibi. They managed to reopen it for a couple of weeks. It was
I
all
wanted to come to that. I wanted
Keep
to come
Hush
to
Lot.
that, actually.
Man, it was amazing being in that venue again and getting to play in there. I loved that place. But yeah, I managed to go that whole time. The time before that I'd done an all-nighter, I think I had to get a 20-minute break at one point. Can't break the seal.
I've had the worst thing is if you need a turnout.
Oh, right, I wouldn't want to have to do that.
No, but the thing is,
You can't get a tune on long enough for that one.
If I've ever left the booth during a set, it's that, and it's like I've made the fatal mistake of like eating steak before a long set or something. You have to have pasta before a long set is the key to like that shit happening. But you know, sometimes, especially in the States, like you want to have some 18 out
big old barbecue on the go. Don't want to turn down that opportunity. Yeah.
But where was we?
So we were talking about obviously all these events, little events. So yeah, the Croydon one, you got arrested, and that was pretty much the end of dubstep happening in Croydon for years. We a lot of us came from there, but we couldn't really do anything in Croydon because it just wasn't. The authorities weren't on board with it. No one really knew what was going on. We never had no trouble, but it just looked so different.
Well, me getting, I've apologised for you so many times. Like, I know that me getting nicked that time, they held it against. There was someone arrested.
It weren't going to work there, so we moved it to Brixton at the Telegraph, innit? The next one.
I was just about to say the Telegraph, yeah. Because then there was, who else did a night
you
there?
You and Benga, I think Paul Rose played there, didn't he? Hot
but
Flush.
Didn't someone else start doing a party at the Telegraph as well?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was though. It does ring a bell.
Jada Flex?
It might have been Search and Destroy or Casper or someone maybe.
I remember the Telegraph because that's every time I drive on that hill, I'm always like, oh, that's one of my first. I always class that as one of my first gigs.
Yeah.
That was where I think Jada Flex heard Conga.
Right. And then that was what got you in with all the people outside of Hatcher playing the bits and that.
We've gone back a little bit here, but
we have. I mean, and we're really way back as well. This is early days.
I'm just saying it for the people.
Yeah, no, it's nice to spitball it there and that. So like, just to move forward a little bit. Obviously, everyone know what happened post. Like, we were playing at DMZ for a little while. DMZ popped up. That started to like build, and that was like outside of Forward. That was one of the first nights that got established and built a little bit of a community around it, and the community started to get a bit bigger than just 50 to 100 people coming to Forward every month, because that's all it really was, to be honest, as well.
Yeah.
And then when DMZ started happening, slowly things started to pick up, I think, for all of us, until obviously that I managed to get myself on Radio 1 around the same time, and then the Marianne Hobbs thing happened, the Breeze Block Dubstep Wars special. And then after that, everything went mad. And I'm sure around that same time, I mean, me and you, we got to tour, didn't we? We went on did a few gigs with Marianne Hobbs in like Belgium and that, which is another gig we probably can't talk about on the stream. But when me and you went to Belgium,
when we went out for a Wonder.
Yeah.
Is that one? Yeah.
Ended up on a tear up before the gig. Oh, got a bit carried away out there, didn't we? Boys on tour. That was the first time, I think. Was that the first time me and you had done a gig abroad together, actually? That probably was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we knew each other.
With Belgium, the problem was, that the gigs were always at like 4 to 6 in the morning.
Mad. And the energy in Belgium's mad as well, because it wasn't like somewhere where people went off. It was like, took a while for them to go off. So like, playing 4 till 6, there'd be like a crowd of people that were quite intrigued and interested, but weren't really going for
7 till 9. But like, I remember Belgium, because I remember speaking to Zinc about it, and it's the same with Spain. Spain was always like
going
that
out
as well.
late. Yeah.
But Zinc was always like, I have a kit before I go and do the show, and I'm like, fucking 20, like.
We were too young for that. Like, we were a bit too excited.
I'm like, what? I'm like, have a kip. Like, you're having a laugh. Like, I'm in this city now. I'm gonna go mad for it. It backfired a few times, but.
Yeah. What was the worst one? Where's the worst place that backfired? Because I think as a young DJ, those early gigs, no one really knows. It is exciting. You go there and it's like a free holiday. That's what you're thinking in your head. Like, free holiday, I'm doing my gig later, but while I'm here, I'm going to visit the city. I'm going to have a beer. Like, I used to do it on my own. I'd go play in Barcelona or whatever, and I'd sit in a bar on my own for hours.
Yeah. Oh, Well, luckily, I think, when I started touring, I was what I guess, I hate saying it, but I was a hot property to a degree.
Mate, it was, yeah. We
So,
was
so
also
I'd
young.
have like, there would be, I'd have a really enthusiastic young promoter with a load of mates who I'd really gelled with. I was smoking a lot of weed then as well.
Mm.
So like, that was the worst thing. Going to smoke loads of weed and then like you're playing at 4 in the morning, you'd be like absolutely burnt out, and especially boozing heavy as well.
Mm.
But like, where did it backfire? It's a bit later on, but me and Bengo had a gig backfire in Poland once. We drank way too much, and Benny thought, well, a coat went missing,
Right.
and we stopped the music and was like, look, this ain't cool. Someone stole our stuff. But I didn't say it, Benny did, and that backfired a bit. They weren't particularly happy, and then we finished the set, but it weren't like, it was very frosty. Trying to think.
Talking about frosty ones, right? Like, I know this is, again, we're not like on the timeline here, but one of those, that festival gig, was it in Spain when everyone got on the stage and they had the stage invasion and they said they'd never book you again. Where was that? You and Benny?
Benny Kassim.
Benny Kassim.
Benny Kassim, they booked me 2 years later.
They did book you?
Say that.
Okay.
Booked me 2 years later, yeah.
How was the reception after that, though? Because I've been on stages when things have gone like that, but not myself personally, but the artists before me. It's not good. They go mad. They're not happy about that.
It was a staple, that the stage invasion thing. We'll get on to the tour, the US tour, in a minute. But it was a state. Like, the thing is, you explain it to people now, and they look at you like, what's with all your negative energy? like it's like a negative thing because everyone thinks a lot more about people. But me and Benny moved around the world like a whirlwind, and like moved in and out of cities like rock stars. I hate even using the term rock stars because I don't even think that's suitable for what it was. Like, we weren't ever rude to no one, or we just enjoyed carnage. And like, we'd throw parties, massive parties, have everyone involved in the party with us beforehand, getting drunk, whatever. And then that vibe will continue throughout the night. Then the stage invasion and everyone. But at the time, it was only that Benny Kassim one was it got out of hand. It was Brits abroad, basically. I ain't blaming the crowd because we should never have invited them up. It was the set. Me and Ben had done a 3-hour set after the Magnetic Man set, so we had it packed with about 10,000 people, and then it just got out of hand. But then there was SW4 where I got everyone on stage. I got banned from SW4.
I think I played there that year, but on a different stage.
It was Rinse. No, it was
Sound.
Rinse.
Was it the?
It
Oh,
was
okay,
Rinse.
different one then. Different
And I ended up with Boy Better Know on my set, and then the sound guy said, "No, you got 10 minutes." I said, "What are you talking about? Everything was running late." Then I was crowd surfing on stage. There was people climbing up the pylons and whatnot. Like, looking back at it now, like, you got, like, just because you look at behaviour around you now, didn't you? And you go, "Oh, fucking hell, that weren't sound." But like, the thing is,
we didn't think back then though. We was young, and I think everything just was so exciting. It was hard to like stop.
Time. It was different time as well. Stuff weren't.
We didn't. None of us thought about that kind of thing. None of us did. Like, I used to dive in. I was looking at some old photos before we did this the other day. Do you remember that time that me and you were stood on stage at Outlook and Hatcher pushed us into the crowd, and we fell about 10 foot onto a crowd? Like, so it was like we were going to do.
Sorry, where? Wait that again.
Do you remember when we were at Outlook Festival that year, and I think like Nero was on stage.
Yes.
Like we was just diving around. We were having a mad one. Like, none of us had played that night, and we ended up on the Nero stage. Hatcher pushed us into the crowd.
But like, without any knowing.
Yeah, like we were just stood there, and all of a sudden,
I hurt myself. Yeah. I really hurt myself. Yeah.
I did, and then there was a rumor going around that we broke someone's collarbone doing that. Do you remember that? Because I felt really bad about it the next day. I was like, "What?" They was like, "Yeah, like some girl like broke a collarbone," but because of the force we fell at, I fully believed it, and I felt like shit for that for like days.
Mate, there was a reason.
But it wasn't true. Apparently, it was a wind up. At
one point, when there was a lot of money getting involved, I had to have like it was a serious meeting, like you need public liability insurance.
Yeah.
Because this, like, if you're not gonna, we can't tell you what to do, but this, you're gonna end up in serious legal trouble.
Man, as soon as you start crowd surfing and that, and obviously like around, I would say like around '09 onwards, it was almost like every show was crowd surfing, and for a few years. Yeah.
The thing with the stage invasion, it become part of the show, and it was like people. The thing was, it wasn't like a lot of the time we'd ask promoters to do it, that we're going to do it.
Yeah, you were right.
It would be semi-controlled, but then when it happens in festival surroundings, there's just too many people. Like I did it at Creamfields after Skrillex played, and then I closed after, and I didn't realise how much gas and then petrol and everything was under the stage.
Oh shit!
And I nearly caused the stage to collapse, and I got in a fucking lot of trouble. And somehow I'd forgotten that I was on Radio 1. I was a Radio 1 DJ at the time, and it was the Radio 1 stage. It was the Radio 1 stage. I got an absolute bollocking on the Monday.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think being on the BBC as well, like, it was different. Do you remember what it felt like? Because I remember what it was for me, right? When I did my first shows on Radio 1, like, that step from doing pirate radio and just having a laugh and, like, turning up with a few beers and not having anyone else in the room with you apart from you and your mates who you've dragged up there, to having someone passing you bits of paper going, oh, do a time check, and make sure that you're throwing forward to this, and mention Pete Tong's show, and it's like, right, I listened back to my shows on the BBC, and my first few shows, I sound like a different person. Like, I was just not. It took me so long to like get into that world.
It sounds scripted. It sounds scripted, considering going from doing a regular show, like a pirate show, where like it was no rules really, especially dependent on who you was.
Exactly.
Because when we was at Rinse, we was allowed to do.
Mate, you could do what you want for years. Even until they got nice premises, people could smoke in there, do literally what they wanted in there. It was like, yeah. But I think this is another thing I think is funny when I see like the trials and tribulations of like radio DJs of this era, and think like they have this picture in their head of like what these stations are or were like. And, you know, if you tell someone we used to have to pay to be on the radio, they wouldn't believe you. Like, we used to pay to turn up and do radio in, like, a shithole crack den. It's a cost money for us.
Using the mic that literally looked like it just had crack smoked off it.
Oh, don't, mate.
What did people used to call it? There was a name for it. Chef called it the fucking... called the name of like the foam, like the mould on the top of the mic. He had a name for it. It was cracking. I can't remember what it was.
Big up Chef. I ain't seen him for so long, but he's another head from back then. Like, but yeah, like for like fast forwarding on, we're talking about stage diving and all that shit. I think like that was an exciting thing. Like I was going through some pictures, like I was saying, and I'm gonna try and share one in a minute. Of people keep asking in the chat, and I know we're gonna get into it because I've touched on it so many times on streams. And never really gone into full detail about when we toured America at like the absolute peak of Skream and Benga, and like I got to tour for what was it, 3 weeks with you. I'd known you for many years. Did you do the
full thing?
Yeah, I did the whole thing, 3 weeks.
You did the whole thing because then what?
I was in Miami before. Through. That's right, because he had to not. We couldn't get his visa sorted in time for him to do Canada, did we? So he had to like stay in America.
That's in San Fran.
That's it, yeah, yes. Oh my God, it's all coming back now. It's all coming back. But yeah, I was out there already, so I joined at the beginning. I think you'd done a couple of shows before, then it was Miami Winter Music Conference, and South by, and I joined you. No, it would have been South by first, then Miami, so I joined in South by.
I think we was already on the tour, yeah?
You'd done a couple of dates before I joined, I think.
Yeah, so what it was is, so... Artwork wasn't on it with you, was it?
No, but he linked. He was there till Miami. Actually, he was there in Miami.
Artwork did the first half. My brother joined us in San Fran. Who was it? Alvin Risk was with us for a day.
That's right. No, he was there before I got there. I didn't have Alvin on any of the shows that I did with you.
So Skrillex had rang us and said, would you mind if we put Alvin Risk on the tour with you? And I was like, no, it's fine by me, whatever.
Poor
and he
Alvin.
Came for like,
Poor Alvin.
But the thing is, he came, his first show was San Francisco. So, no, it can't have been.
I don't think I did San Fran on that tour, so it probably was Alvin.
So, right, then what happened was, Alvin had arrived really quiet, and then my brother, who we was meant to pick up, like, he was meant to meet us at the bus. We were like, Jack, where are you? He's like, I've met two birds in the bar, I've gone back to their gaff. And I'm like, okay, like everyone's quite excited to see you. He said, yeah, I'll see you in a bit. And then Alvin was sort of like so quiet. He left the next day. He rang his management and said, I really can't do this. This is like, it's too wild.
I do worry because I think around that time was the first era of doing all this. Like before that kind of like end of that decade.
Go on, sorry. Jack's saying he'd done the whole thing. He missed the first show in LA.
Right.
So then it must have been LA. Because
then
Miami
San Fran.
was halfway.
Yeah.
Then San Fran. Yeah, right.
So I joined the Miami onwards, but just to get into that as well, just to touch on that real quick, I think that time, that sort of 2009 to 2011 was the first. That was the shift where, when we grew up, people who were doing music and DJing were the wrong uns in school. Like it was all the dropouts, it was all the nutters. Then it became the technical people who were really clever and could make music like they were like almost like classical music kids, but making electronic music. So you'd go on these tours and do these gigs, and you'd expect everyone to be on your level. Like, yes, mate, who wants a shot?
Rowdy.
Do a shot. Yeah, get that, and who's got that? Like, and then it was like kids
like
on
rowdy though.
Kids on their laptops in the corner going, "No, you're all right, thanks," and putting their headphones on and like really not interested in what's going on around.
It was that bit. It was the shift. It was the shift when it was that sound when the sounds
got technical as well.
Went America. Sort of went America. That it was. That time, like that tour, really. Me and Benny, we was all playing stuff that we were playing for America, weren't we? Really
heavy stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it was a tour. So what?
So that tour was 2012, wasn't it? That one. That was a 2012 tour.
Yeah. So you didn't make San Fran, did you?
No.
So San Fran, whole load of fucking.
Share what you can.
Right.
What can you share? Look, be careful here.
We had the bus parked outside the venue. No. All
right, don't do it. Don't go
I'm really
there.
Sorry.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, I can't. Yeah.
Let's get into that tour anyway, because my experiences of that tour are some of the maddest experiences I think like I had on any tour. Like I love touring as well. Like I really missed that. What about you? Was you someone who enjoyed going on tour?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Did you like going living in the bus? Was that a big? I preferred bus to flying every day personally. Was you a bus person?
Either or. I loved it. So sorry, I've just got to turn my phone on. I just loved being away. Like I've travelled a lot. Like I was lucky to travel a lot when I was a kid. So I was familiar with flying. I've always been familiar with flying since the first flight I had when I was born. I flew to Australia. So like I've been very familiar with planes. So going to play music places, and I love the whole routine of going to the airport and whatever. Like I've always loved that. The bus was perfect environment for me.
I loved the bus because the one thing I hated about touring was packing up my bag every morning hungover, or getting my bag together, going to the airport, sitting on a plane for 4 hours, like every day, feeling like shit.
You don't have to stop. It never stops on the bus.
I was watching videos today. I might be able to share a couple. Actually, I've vetted a couple of them already. But I was looking at some videos of our tour bus, and do you remember like the beauty of the bus tour? Right, is there was what 8
bus.
It wasn't a great bus. No, it wasn't. But it did its job. Right. It was like we had Wi-Fi on it, and we had a bed, and we had 2 areas we could sit in. They let people smoke out the back window. It was like
We had
It
the
was fun.
TV. That's how we all got into Trailer Park Boys, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Man, I was watching it the other week and I couldn't remember who got me into it. I was like, I feel like I watched this and I couldn't remember what
the
tour
bus.
it was. It was that tour, it was, wasn't it?
Bus.
That bus tour, Trailer
Because
Park
we had
Boys.
we had a select amount of stuff on, like, stored on the telly,
Yeah.
and we just ended up watching that. It was on all
It was
the
really
time.
good though, yeah. The geezer who wandered around with the brandy and coke in a glass in every scene.
What's his name? Brendan, no.
Mate, the
Oh,
scene
no,
that
it's not
always
Cup,
does
is
me
it?
in to this day
Julian.
on Trailer
His
Park
name's
Boys.
Julian.
Who was it
His
when
name's Julian.
the main character, the main geezer with the quiff, like the Elvis quiff, can't remember his name. Can't remember his name, but that's
Ricky.
When Ricky had the fucking go-kart and does a 180 turn like into the driveway and gets out and starts having, oh mate, that scene still to this day it tickles me. I can literally remember where we, like, that bus being sat in there. Amazing. But yeah,
I think it made so much sense though, because everyone's really reckless in the show, and we were reckless on the tour.
That was
Not
so reckless.
It was just like, it was non-stop fun.
Yeah.
I think everyone enjoyed it. Like, I loved great.
it. I loved it, man.
It was. I'd get a power nap before the show.
Yep.
And then, but I'd been like, I don't think there was a night that I wasn't in the club for everyone who was there. Except because Jackmaster, obviously, was
we was there start till finish. All of us.
Yeah.
No one was like.
Jackmaster-
I say that actually, like Benny would disappear. Some days he'd be off. We'd be like, "Where's Benny gone?" He's like, he's booked himself into the Four Seasons.
Booked a hotel room. Yeah.
You're like,
Four Seasons,
what? Okay, we'll wake up on the bus in the morning. It's like, where's Benny? Did he not get on the bus last night? And he'd be like, oh yeah, he did, but he got up as soon as he would have stayed up talking to the bus driver, and got him to drop him outside like some posh gaff, book himself into a hotel for the night. It's like, this is people in the chat like Benny Hill, no, Benga. We call him. Everyone calls him Benny, but Benny he wasn't as involved. I think he was deep into writing his album at that time, wasn't he? And he was like, he'd spend the day like mixing down in his headphones, and then he'd disappear when we got there, and he'd turn up at the gig, and then he'd crack on with everyone, and then we wouldn't see him some days. But then we all used to be in there, like you're saying.
Got to do a shout out. Got to do a shout out to Juan Basshead.
Shout out Juan Basshead, yes.
Just locked in.
Talking about Miami as well.
That's who gave us all our first Miami show.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, I couldn't actually believe it when that first gig come through. I never thought I'd get to play in Miami, and that came through. It was one of those. It was like one of those.
An amazing story.
Go on.
Amazing story. My first Miami show. Yeah.
Go on. Let's have it.
I never had a visa. I was in Portugal, and I overslept, or I couldn't get to the airport. Something happened. There was no flight that would get me there the same day, so I ended up going to Miami I had to get there. I had to get out to the States, right? I got there I was going there for 36 hours. So I've landed in Miami. I'm at passport control, and they're like, it says here you're here for like a day and a half. I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, why?
What are you doing? Yeah.
And literally, trust me, on the spot, yeah. Like, I give myself ratings for this forever. I managed to just sort of start crying a little bit. I think it's through nerves. Yeah. And I said, look, I've broken up with my girl. I said, luckily I've got a bit of money like behind me from my family, which weren't true at all at the time. I had money from gig touring. And so they was like, out, because they said, how much have you got in your account? And I was like, whatever. And they, basically, I was like, look, all my friends said to me, if I want to get my head away from reality, go to Miami. The guy at passport control at Miami Airport spudded me and said, go and enjoy yourself, brother. True story. I swear down, you know I'm not a liar. You know I'm not a liar, Chris. I swear down.
We would make that up. I don't even know if I want to like share my initial like experiences of going through customs and that, but I had a similar one where I never had a visa the first few times, and everyone was like, go there and tell them you're a record collector, because back then we used to carry vinyl and all that shit as well, and I was like, I need to carry vinyl in there, blah blah, I had this whole story like, right, I'm a vinyl collector, I'm going to like vinyl swapping like swap shops, blah blah, and I landed in New York, and when the day I landed was WrestleMania apparently at like Madison Square Garden. And they looked at me and he went, "You here for the wrestling?" And I went, "Yep." And he went, "All right, go through, man." That was it. Oh, I take that. Yeah, mate. Yeah, WrestleMania. Yeah, fucking Hulk Hogan and that. It's like 2008 by then. Like, no, I'm joking. It weren't. It's like 04 or 05 the first time I went, but I just took it. I was like, I'll take WrestleMania. I'll take that one.
We're backtracking a bit here, right?
I know.
If we're talking about America story, when I went to first time I did Dub War in New York. I was meant to do 2 shows, one in Toronto, bigging up Brandon in Toronto for that, and bigging up the original Black Market. He used to own Rene Black Market. He used to own Black Market Records. And I got a train. Basically, I was I was 20 at the time. And so I did the 2 shows. I got a promoter in Montreal called Kefa or Saint. He bumped me for my money, tried to give me a cell phone at the train station and said, "Oh, I'll take this and I'll wire you some money." He bumped me for the money. And I got to New York. Obviously met Dave Q, Joe Nice, everyone. I couldn't drink at the show.
Why?
Because I was 20.
Oh my God, but they let you do it still.
Yeah, they put a wristband on me, and I remember thinking, "Nah, it'll be alright." I tried to get a drink, and they were like, "Nah." So literally, if people who was at that show will remember, it was like a big thing: get Skream a drink, get Skream a drink. And I had them all lined up under the decks, which was in the old Avalon Club, it was Limelight, then turned into Avalon, and just bad America stories. But anyway, so wait, let's get back onto the tour, the Skream and Benga 2012.
Alright, yeah. So I think I joined it in like Austin, and I've found a little picture here. I'm going to transition this into the chat. I hope you can see it. Do you remember this night that I opened up for you in Austin at that Red Bull show? How drunk I got. Can you see that picture?
I can see it. Yeah, it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick out one time where we haven't got you absolutely licked.
It's not difficult, is it? Let's be honest, right? If I'm just trying to keep up with you, I try, but it's not possible.
He's so little, right? And he's croydon through and through, and he just becomes so frail and just like lifeless.
I'm like a bit of Play-Doh.
So what? So that was Skream and Benga tour.
So this picture here of like, it looks like zombies trying to eat me. Like, yeah, I'm gonna put that bit bigger. Though. This was at like the Red Bull gig in at South by Southwest at the beginning of that tour, 2012, I think it was. And I opened up. I met up with Dylan Francis that day, who had also played that night. Right, he opened up. And I met Dylan Francis, and we went to a bar. And I'd never met him before, but we sat in this bar for a couple of hours, had a few drinks, and then I went to the gig. And I was like, I think that was like maybe the first. I hadn't met up with you on that trip just yet. Went to that gig, and I was already licked. And then Dylan Francis played his set, and then I played. And then while I was playing, I think Uzot turned up, and I got into the backstage area, and Benny had like the rider. So I was just drinking like the few drinks that I'd asked for while I was playing. I was quite drunk, but I wasn't smashed. And then I got there, and Benga like got the Skream and Benga tour rider, which was like a bottle of tequila, loads of vodka and Red Bulls. It was basically about 7 bottles of spirit. I think there was a bottle of champagne and loads of like mixers. And I had just finished, and I'd already got drunk.
So much booze, so much.
It's South by Southwest, so this was an early show, and I think at that point it was probably like 8 p.m. and I'm done. I've done my bit for the day.
I genuinely don't remember what show. I don't remember the show.
I think this is the reason I picked this up. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was the first time I crowd surfed, and it wasn't on purpose.
It wasn't part of the tour.
No, I think it was like a South by Red Bull show. I think it was just there.
Right.
It was like a little in the middle of it, and then we did this, and I was stood on the corner of the stage, and Benga was like, "Go on, Plastic, go on, jump into the crowd," and I was like, "Nah," I was licked. I was absolutely smashed, and Benny just pushed me into the crowd, and that's what that picture is there, of everyone like holding me up, and I don't really
saving your life.
Look at my face, mate. I'm wounded there. Like I'm worried. I'm scared. and that was
Is
that
that
show.
Pokes behind?
Yeah, that's Pokes on like stage. You can see
And
him
he's
with the
got
mic
he's
there.
got a Skream and Benga. He's got a Skream and Benga tour shirt on, isn't he?
Yeah,
T-shirt.
I've still got one of them in my house somewhere.
Yeah. I've got a couple still freshly packed. Wait, I'm gonna quickly search because I need to remember.
I'm pretty sure, right, that was at South by Southwest. I think Skream might have muted himself there, but this picture, yeah, South by Southwest, and that was I can't remember what venue it was, but I was a real state, and that was the beginning. That was my first day on that tour. So I
can't find it.
I got a bit carried away. That was my first day on the tour, pretty much, and we were in South by for maybe a week. And is that the year that you threw the CDJ into the crowd? It probably was. Are you sure?
No. Yeah,
Was that the year after?
Then.
2012 then? That must have been the following year.
2013, I think.
13. Alright, yeah, I was there that year, so that might be right, yeah. Anyway then, to not detract away from the tour that was absolutely stuff of legend, this was the first night of myself on the tour.
I love this message from Smith saying, first time I saw Skream was 2013 South by Southwest. Barcelona, I was walking to the bathroom when Skream was walking out, and I went to dab him, and instead he grabbed me and kissed me inside of my head. This is the year, that's the year, because I did Skreamism, remember?
In Barcelona by. This was that was the year that you did the CDJ.
We'll get onto that
Yeah, we got this tour to get through first. So that was my introduction to the tour. Obviously, I was well aware of what everyone was about on that tour at that point. But that was the first night of the tour. So let me just like close off that image anyway. So what follows that is Miami. And that's when we met up with Jackmaster. And Jackmaster joined us on that tour in Miami. And that was the first time I've met Jack. I loved how he played. I was aware of him as a DJ. You as a big supporter of Jackmaster, helped put him on. And me and Jack bonded really well because we were both sort of opening up. Some nights we'd swap, and I'd do the opener, and he would come up. I think in
we was playing
Toronto.
Similar sets.
Yeah, we was at the time.
Sets,
yeah, because it was kind of like grime and garagey dubstep, but not the super
half
heavy side.
Bass, half time booty bass.
Exactly. Yeah, we were playing quite similarly. So, and as we got on well in that, I didn't need to take the slightly busier slot when we were in Toronto. I think he played it, and that was actually a really good gig, that Toronto one. And I found some pictures. I think I went down to Ultra with Jack, but that's what I wanted to talk about. Was Ultra on that tour was mental, right? Let me say
Go on.
we were all staying at the Standard Hotel in Miami, which is a really nice hotel. This was at a time in our careers where we had a bit of money about us, and we didn't. We knew we was going to be living in a bus for a few weeks after that. So we had a week in Miami. We're going to stay in the Standard. Maybe get involved in a bit of spot. It
was a way to stay away from sort of
downtown and all that. Yeah.
The really busy,
Ocean Drive area.
I'd been to Miami previous few years, and the first place I stayed, I remember waking up and there was I remember getting in. And there was a party in the reception of the hotel, and I was trying to sleep. I was finished, and you're just I can't you can't go as hard as you do in Miami without having that little bit of hideaway.
Yeah, it was like that there. But I did always love Miami. This Ultra in particular, though, right? But actually, me and you have had some times in Miami before that. Drinking at Wet Willie's, the iced slush bar where we got absolutely annihilated. Sat there for 3 hours with Mark 1. Was that year, actually? That might well have been the same year, where we'd never sat there all day and tried to drink pint after pint of slush puppy with 153% overproof rum in it.
Me and you have been there a few times.
We were trying to figure out how many we could drink, and I think we really struggled. We did 3, and then the year. Yeah, that's right. Because then by the 2013, we went back when my missus came.
5.
And Caroline drank 7 of the small ones. So she drank it too quick. I had to carry her home, poor girl. But yeah, anyway, back to 2012 on this tour. So our agent.
Wait. One saying it might have been when we played Laundry Bar.
It may well have been. Oh yeah, when we did the interview. Okay, no, yeah, we did one at Laundry. We did Croydon Base or whatever. It was like Miu Mala was there as well. That was that year. That was the same year, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, mate. So our agent was out there with us, Carter at the time, who was working at what was that agency? Was it Windish? We were with Windish agency at the time, and Carter was out there. And you guys had this really important Magnetic Man set on top of the Skream and Benga set that you'd done maybe the previous day at Ultra. So most of us had done our bit at Ultra. My set at Ultra was like early. I played to about 20 people earlier that night, right? Then you and Benny played to a packed out tent. Next day, Carter phones me, and I've regrouped with Jackmaster in the hotel lobby. He's like, has anyone seen Skream? He's DJing in like 3 hours. No one's heard from him at Ultra.
It wasn't even DJing. It was the Magnetic Man show we doing live. Yeah.
Yeah. So Arthur and Benny are sort of like floating about in a world of their own. They were. I say floating. They were floating about. They were not on planet Earth that day.
You remember what happened? Arthur
was
packed his bags.
I still always remember Arthur.
He packed his bags and fell asleep. He packed his bags and fell asleep in reception just after he left me, because he thought that Toby, our tour manager, said that we was going home, not going to a show. And he packed his bags, and Toby found him in the reception of the Standard with all his suitcases. Basically, that morning, there was, I'm not sure if I could say a couple of their names because their status in mainstream.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to mention their names either. But we'll say that
I'd been at a party at the hotel with Jake Shears from the Scissor Sisters.
Oh, you're going to just say it? Just drop it then.
I could say Jake. Jake won't mind.
Jake will be alright then. But the other one we won't say.
Jake will be the other, a couple of others, yeah, and you know, get one thing leads to another, and next thing you're taking acid at 8 in the morning. And,
so basically, so you say
it felt a lot earlier. It felt a lot earlier.
It was a wild one, right? And you went off like no one really knew where you was at this point either. But someone said that they'd seen you with Jake and a couple of other people whose names we won't mention. So we're like, I'm sure Jake Shears is staying in our hotel. We've seen him like dive around the hotel, but we didn't know what room he was staying in. So me and Jackmaster are like, we got our agent on the phone. Is like, he needs to be here in an hour or they're pulling the whole set. Like, he has to be here. Bet am I right? We managed to figure out a way of finding out where Jake was staying. Don't ask me how. We knew what room he was in, so we'd gone and give it a knock. Knock, knock, knock. Hello, Ollie, you in there, mate? No answer. But we're certain he's in there, and we know someone's in there because we can hear people sort of talking, but they're not looking there. The standard doors don't have windows. You can't like look out the window and see who's there. You have to literally look out the actual window. No one's doing that when you've been on a bender all day and all night, right? So me and Jack are like, what are we gonna do? We told our agent Carter, like, we think we know where he is, but they're not answering the door. Like, they're either asleep or they're not in there. And he's like, I don't care if you have to kick the fucking door down, get him out of there. So we're like, banging the door. Oi! Wake up, Ollie! Ollie! There's a taxi waiting for you. You've got a fucking set in like an hour. No one's answering the door. We start kicking the door. Someone from the hotel comes over, is like gonna kick me and Jack out. We had to explain that we think someone's in there. They're trying to figure out if they can get someone from the door. Then we heard someone in the room, and I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me right, that Jack had a boot at the door then, and it opened a bit, and I think Jake answered the door at that point, and he was not in a good way, and then Jack spotted you.
I wasn't there though. I wasn't there, was I?
Was you not there? I feel like my memory served me that like he saw you at that point. I was with the hotel person.
I remember, this is so unprofessional, I don't recommend anyone to do anything what I'm saying. I went to my room, unplugged the room phone, and was like, I can't, like, fuck that, I can't do that show. Like, I was mashed. And then you two come to my room, was banging the door, and Jack started getting a bit threatening through the door, if I remember correctly.
Mate, the pressure was on us. Carter was fucking, like, he was telling us, you need to get him here. Like, it's on you. I need you two to get him down here.
I come out the room dressed, well, semi, and
Within a few
I
minutes,
remember
we were in a taxi. Yeah, it was like very
we
quick.
got there. I remember getting there and I'd missed the intro to the show. I turned up like a minute and a half into the intro, sort of ran out on stage. It looked so planned, but
Mate. And like I said, like Arthur was in a different. He was on another planet. And I remember saying to Pokes, like, I was looking at Arthur, and Arthur was on stage, and everyone knows at Artwork what he's like when he's DJing and that. Artwork was on stage giving it all this to the crowd, like.
yeah.
I was like, this geezer's off his nut.
Well, we took it at the same time. So it was like,
Mate, he was out there giving it that. I was like, does this Arthur think he's David Guetta out there?
It's like it's not a celebrated thing that he thought he was going home and packed all his bags. His bags had to get taken to the show, and because Arthur's laptop was the brain.
Yeah.
Combined and Benga's like that's the way it was set up. So he had to be there. Me and Benny could ultimately rock up as long as that mainframe, the brain computer was okay. Ours were fine.
Okay, being the
yeah.
Oh, Arthur was not okay.
And the thing is, it was the first Magnetic Man show we'd done without the lights,
and
it
was daylight,
daytime, and
yeah.
it was outdoor. So the show weren't. I think
Didn't look
by
the
that
same.
That point in America as well, the dynamic had dramatically shifted.
Mm.
So our stuff seemed pretty tame, and it was hot day. People were outside. There was a big bass tent they could have gone in, which a lot of people was in, which is what me and Benga played the day before.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the fucking show weren't worth leaving the room for. No, I'm joking.
It went all right. You basically got through it, and then what ensued after that was the Skream and Benga tour, which was like the maddest few weeks. I think like Hijack's in the chat as well, and he always talks to me about how funny those weeks were on that bus. Now, without getting into too many, like
it was just like
it's like being lads on tour, but we got to do like mad shit.
Mates on a tour. Got to shout out Scion, company Scion, because they funded it. They didn't ask a lot from anyone really. It was almost they used to do sort of like our BMA did, didn't they? Used to fund stuff, and they funded just. The thing is, if that tour would have been 2 years before, it would have been massively remembered. I think it was just the shift in dynamic in the sound at that point was changing. Kids were getting younger and into
heavier
the
stuff
and squills, yeah. But it was still, I'd still class it as the best. I think I was away for about 4 weeks.
Yeah, you probably would have been.
Absolutely, it was just so much fun, and even the fucking tour bus burning down in Chicago.
This is what I needed to get into. This is the thing, right?
Fun.
So, let's just say, like, we had a great tour up to that point, but the Chicago one was one of the Chicago and what happened after it, actually, Denver as well, was hilarious in that sense that, like, what happened in Chicago, right? We had this enormous show in Chicago. It was like 4,000 capacity in that, what was the name of that venue? That enormous venue in Chicago.
Wasn't we sharing the venue with Phoebe?
Yeah. That's it. It was like a co-headline because the two tours were rolling through, and the two promoters decided to like go together, and it went into that enormous venue in Chicago, that 4,000 cap venue.
It was the one. There's a famous video of Skrillex jumping off a balcony into
Lollapalooza one. Yeah. So we played in that venue. It was fucking enormous. It was like Brixton Academy, but a little bit big. Congress Theatre. Yes, it was at Congress Theatre. At the time, I think it was one of the biggest shows I'd done outside of festivals. It was enormous. Like the venue was huge. And
what Jack just writ?
The alderman.
Go on, keep going.
Mate, so we'd done this show, and I've got a video clip actually. I'm going to share in a minute. I'm going to get this set up in just a sec.
What, of the bus?
And I had one of the bus, and I watched it, and I was like, I'm not sure if that's cancel safe. I'm not sure.
Oh, I meant of the bus on fire.
No, I've not got no videos of the bus on fire, sadly. But basically, we'd done this show. We shared the headline with Feed Me, which meant that all of our lineup played first, and then Feed Me went on. So essentially, Skream and Benga's set had a solid hour and a half after they'd finished, where people were still in the venue, and it was almost like you got an early night and got to carry on. after the show. So we'd all, like, as usual, got pretty smashed. I played, I think, Jackmaster and then Hijack and then me. I played before you and had a really good set. It was actually one of the better received sets that I'd played. I played quite hard that night, I remember, because it was such a big crowd. I felt like I had to push it a little bit harder. Then you and Benny played and smashed it. And at the end of that set, I think we did this mental stage dive. You played Rage Against the Machine.
No.
I've got the video.
It was New York. It was New York. When you all jumped and you missed the drop.
No, that was... Trust me, I've got the video. I'm going to show you it. Wait,
no, it weren't. It was New York because you lot all jumped and then nobody caught you. You jumped.
No, that was a different night. This one, everyone caught us, and it was your go. I'm going to find it and prove you wrong. Hang about. I'm going to have to make a video here. But yeah, we did this. It was Jackmaster really wanted to do a stage dive, and you were like, "We'll do one tonight. You got to do it." And I was like, "I'm getting involved in it as well. Like, I'm down." You were playing Rage Against the Machine at the end of your sets on that tour.
Yeah,
and
we played it I think we played it at the end of every set anywhere.
Yeah, and I got Toby, our tour manager, to film it, and I fell off the fucking stage right before. You might notice it. I'm going to play the video in a minute. You can watch it, and you can just see like you haven't seen it. Are you watching make sure you got the Actually, I'll full screen it. And
no, I've got my phone here, so I can.
All right, I'll full screen it so people see it.
There.
There'll be a little bit of delay, but I'm going to full screen it so you can see it properly. Let me just make sure this is going to be full screen. Stretch to fit to screen. Alright, I'm going to play this video. This was the gig, so just to paint the picture of how big this gig was, and obviously, like, I'll explain what happened after this, but this was the end of Skream and Benga's set, or right near the end of it at least, one of the last tunes, and they invited all of us, all from the tour, to come out, and Toby, our tour manager, filmed this. You won't even spot it, but I literally fall off the stage. If you can hear me, I'll explain when. You might spot it, but I got back up so quick, because there was no way I was going to miss the stage dive. It might be a bit loud when it first comes on, so bear with me while I get that volume sorted. Here we go. Can you see this, Ollie?
Yeah, I don't know who's who. Is that Jackie?
That's you in the middle. Your arms up. That's me closest to the camera. There's Pokes, and I think that's Jack next to Pokes.
Yeah.
And there's Carter with the beard. Our agent. Look at the size of that crowd.
You're trying to break some time, aren't you?
I'm like,
trying to see where everyone's gonna jump.
I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm like, do you still filming, Toby? Don't miss this.
You're like you're gonna jump first.
I know. I think I come last, to be honest. I was waiting for you lot. The size of the venue, mate. Packed it out. It was a Wednesday night as well, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
Look at Jackmaster. He's raring to go, mate. Here we go. Look. It was his first time. He was like, I need to do it. Right, here we go. Look, I've already fallen off the stage at this point. I'm back up again.
Here we go. Oh, mate.
No.
I know you're doing alright. I know you did.
Mate, I'm doing a fucking... I don't weigh shit. I was like the perfect person to stage dive back then. I don't weigh nothing, mate. And that is about it. I'm going to stop it there, but... Boy, I was watching that today, just laughing.
Man.
So that was that night, and then, so after that was the end of your set. Feed Me comes on.
We
right?
left. We left. We left, but we'd done out like we'd been in the venue all night, right?
Exactly. So we'd done our bit for the night, and Feed Me come on. I think we stuck around for a bit to Feed Me set to see what his stage setup was insane, and then we went back to the bus. You know, you go back to the bus to get a drink or whatever, because most of our rider was on the bus most of the time, because it's better than hanging out in the backstage, right? We used to do a thing every night on this tour We had a funny name for it, which I won't say, but we used to have like this clash, and it was like an 80s music clash every night, and it'd just be like, I had so much music on my laptop anyway, so I had loads of 80s stuff on there that I'd never played. I would never play it back then, really, apart from on Rinse at Christmas time. And we was having this sound clash, right? And me, Pokes, tour managers on the bus, agents on the bus, we've had an amazing night. Obviously, just seeing thousands of people there. We're just like, we're absolutely at our peak right now. We've still got time to have some fun. So we're tearing through the rider. We're banging tunes on, and I think pretty sure it was Ollie actually, who's his turn to choose the selection, and he put on Tiny Dancer by Elton John. And we're sitting there like playing Tiny Dancer. It's going off. Our agents come on the bus, and he's causing a bit of commotion. He's a bit panicky. I'm like, what? Then Pokes walks on behind him, and he's like, the bus is on fire. And I thought he meant like it's having it.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, it's fucking having it, mate. And he's like, no, seriously. He's like, it's actually on fire. And then he said that, right? Carter, our agent, who apparently had been in a situation recently before that.
He'd been in a tour bus accident years previous.
Yeah.
And had never stepped foot on a tour bus again. It was his first time on a tour bus again.
Mate, and he's come in and he's like, get your fucking shit, everyone get off the fucking bus. Like, he was like, we're like, what the fuck is going on, right? And there's like, you haven't got time to get your shit.
None of us had tops on.
Mate, we had like no tops on and that. We're like, run. Oh, it was wild, right? So we've run off the bus, and I think I picked up literally like my passport. I made sure I had my passport because they were like, you ain't got no time. Like, get off the bus.
Grab what you need, yeah.
Yeah, so I grabbed my passport and nothing else. The best thing, right, was your brother, Jack. So we've all come off the bus and we're waiting. We're like, where's Jack? Jack's still on the fucking bus because he was at the back smoking out the back window. He's come off the bus.
No. Listen, what happened? Wait. What happened was, we was all off the bus.
Yeah.
Jack had an urgency that he needed to get back on the bus.
To get something
I'm
important.
Thinking it's his passport. I thought it was his passport, right? And I'm going, like,
you're right,
fucking all freak out. I'm going, my brother's on the bus, Come back off with a bottle of red wine.
A bottle of red wine and that fucking mask with the funny hat on. You know that mask of the old man's face with the beard and the hat? He come off the mask. He come off wearing that and Benger's denim jacket, and he had all of the rider that was left, a red wine and a whiskey or something, and he just come off the bus with that. He was like, he went on a flaming bus to come out with the mask with the hat on it.
Came off of a flaming bus as well, to be fair.
So we was outside and all this smoke was coming off the back of the bus, and the fire engines turned up, and people coming out the venue like, what the hell is going on? And there's like fire engines outside. We're all off the bus. They're like, what the fuck? And the guy whose tour bus it was losing his shit. Turns out that he had. But it was his fault.
His fault, wasn't it?
He left like a towel in the engine room, so when you're parked up, the engine's still running so that all of the electricity and shit works. And he left the towel in the engine that caught fire. So it weren't our fault. Anyway, mad end to a wild night. The next morning...
Because we cancelled the next show, which was in...
Kansas City.
It hadn't sold. It hadn't sold, had it?
Right,
and
so it almost done us a weird favour. That it wasn't going to be busy. So we had to cancel a show. And that makes it sound like we done it on purpose then.
But it was the promoters. The promoters were like, "Look, the show hasn't sold well. Like, it's easier for us to cancel than all of you to fly it for an undersold show."
Right. Okay. So basically, cancelled the show, but we're stuck at this point in Chicago, and we needed to get to the airport. None of us have slept. We're still up, and Toby, who was always doing a good job of being a tour manager, to be fair to him. He was a great tour manager. He decided we needed to get something to get us to the airport the next morning. He booked all the flights, sorted it all out, and he booked us a stretch limo. We got picked up. We put all our shit in a stretch limo after we were allowed to get it off the bus. And we were all fucked. And I watched a video of it today, and it's hilarious, but I can't share it. It's not really stream friendly. But we're all on the bus, and like Jack Master's sprawled out.
Can you send it to me?
I'll send it to you. Yeah, we're on this stretch limo, and we're laughing about the situation we're in. And then we get the stretch limo to take us to McDonald's because we're starving and we got to go to the airport. And then we drove a stretch limo through McDonald's drive-through on the way to the airport, and we were at the
Was
airport
I
for
asleep?
hours.
I don't remember none of this.
I don't think you was in the video, so you might well have been passed out. But you must have been on it because we were all in there. Like Pokes is in the video, Jack's in the video, Jackmaster, me, Benger's there. Benger's looking quite sprightly. He was like, I have nothing to do with this. In the video, he's like, I think he might have disappeared after the gig.
Is there potential I would have stayed in Chicago?
No, I think you came because you definitely came because the next day was that mad one, the day off in Denver. Do you remember? Come on, remember that day we spent at the barbecue spot? So the day after this,
the worst hotel on the absolute planet where
hot gin.
Where didn't Pokes put a prawn sandwich in the geezer's filing cabinet before we left?
And it was, yeah. So we went out the next day because we had a day off. It's like, all right, gig's cancelled and we got a night in Denver before the last gig. So we had a night off in Denver and we went, me, you and Jackmaster and Toby eventually joined us, our tour manager. We was just like, let's find a barbecue spot. Let's go and eat some good food in Denver. So we went to this barbecue spot in the centre of town. It wasn't like a little countryside one. It was like a proper mainstream barbecue spot.
Yeah, it was sick though.
It was nice, and we were buying cocktails in there. Racked up $800 bill, but your brother and Pokes stayed in. They were like, "We're just gonna stay here. We can't be arsed." They stayed in and went to town. They bought like a bottle of gin from the shop across the road, and like put it in. They put it in a kettle, didn't they?
They decided to put it in the top of the hotel coffee making machine.
Yeah.
And basically was brewing some sort of hot gin that made them all. We got back and said we've been seeing stars for the last 2 hours.
We thought we was pissed on an $800 bill we'd racked up at a cocktail bar. Your brother and Pokes at the hotel were next level. They were on another planet. They'd just been sat in their room drinking all day. And we went out, didn't we? We went out to some dubstep show in Denver, and we were like downstairs in the backstage area. And there's a lot of stuff we can't talk about on the stream, but it was a weird one. It went downhill very quick. We got there ready to carry on, and within about 10 minutes, we all were like had to go home. Within about 5-10 minutes of being there,
left, right, and centre.
It went left very quick, and then we had our last show in Denver, where there's that amazing set,
amazing picture
of all the people that got up on stage, and there's that girl on the side with her jugs out, with screaming as well. She's like,
Do you remember at the end of it? I was like end of tour party, and everyone was sort of partied out, and I think I bought like 20 bottles of Stolly.
Mate, there was a big fight in the backstage. Do you remember? Do you remember that?
Yeah, the girls.
The girls had started fighting each other in the backstage downstairs, like literally pulling each other's hair out. We were like, it soured it. We were like ready to party. These two girls just started arguing, and they wouldn't stop. We tried to calm it down for about 20 minutes, and it wouldn't. Every time they got near each other, that was it. Kicked off again, and like within about 30 minutes, we were all out of the venue in the hotel again, I think.
But the thing was, all I remember is having so much Stolly that we had to get because we was flying the next day, and I think I'd give everyone like a bottle each to like put in their bags for the way home. I just couldn't do it all on my own.
Just like at my wedding. Talking about that, this man was one of my ushers at my wedding, and I think it got to like 1:45. The bar's about to shut, and he went and bought 3 bottles of vodka at the bar in the venue to keep the party going. Because we were supposed to keep the venue out. The venue said like before that night that when your event stops, because you booked out the whole hotel, you can continue in the bar. If anyone's a guest, they can stay. So we were like, sweet, the people can just stay up till they want. Our wedding was so wild that at about 20 to midnight, the owner of the hotel took me to one side and said, we can't let your guests stay up. And I was like, why? He said, we've seen this.
Everyone's got to go to bed.
He was like, we've seen this before and it won't stop, so we've got to stop it now. And they closed the bar. But it didn't close the hotel rooms, and I think you carried on. I remember I could hear you outside my hotel room, like the night of my wedding. I can hear you shouting up to like Darkside about like vodka or something in the like outside my hotel room. Didn't you end up in his hotel room or something?
I couldn't tell you, mate. I honestly couldn't tell you. I know I was locked out. I got locked out of my room, like purposely I wasn't allowed in my room. I found. The thing is, they weren't hotel rooms, was they? They were like little houses.
Mm.
So I think I was just shouting until someone let me in.
Amazing. I want to know there's so many. We could sit here for another 2 hours chatting about. I want to try and keep it. We'll try and cap it off in the next 10, but there's so much more we can talk about. I think that tour was like.
I think we've covered
a good bit of the lumps. Didn't want to get too deep.
the good ones.
Yeah, one time we'll sit down. We'll have a deep one.
There's stories. Look, there's a
lot of stories we can't share for so many reasons.
There's just details that.
I'm not looking to get anyone in any trouble. Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, it was.
Look, if they were just my stories, I'd tell you them outright, because there's the 2013 when I gave the decks away.
Oh mate, we could probably do that because I was there that day. Dawley actually popped up in the chat earlier. If you're still here, Dawley, he was with me that night when you did the decks at the Ray-Ban gig, the boiler room.
Do you remember? I remember
the whole day.
No, but do you remember the few days before I lost my phone?
Yeah, when you said that geezer
answered my phone
at that hotel.
My phone back with
and he gave you a hug.
And said, he gave me a hug and a sheet of acid and said, "Look,
enjoy
not everybody in life's an arsehole." And then basically we did the Screamers party with Disclosure. I'm not going to say any more, but with Disclosure, you, Yasmin, Jack, and everybody went missing for about 3 days.
Oh man.
But not together. No one was together.
No. But then we kind of converged on that Ray-Ban gig, because I remember being with Dawley and his missus at the time, and we'd been on a mad one all day. We played that rooftop thing as well. In town. I got escorted just before that show. I got escorted out the hotel by the police because somebody on my team was throwing a Bible at the wall. What?
And then the police walked in and we got escorted out, and I had to go to that show. I was in a bad way, like, by that point anyway. But I was going through a lot in my head anyway. But the boiler room show, not one of my finer moments, but just like
it was the way you got cut off. I think you can understand a little bit why it pissed you off.
I remember what it was. Like it was my first sort of US sort of house and techno show, and I was loose. But there was people there, and I got shut off, and then one thing led to another, and especially during that time, like I was still reminiscent of causing stage invasions. So I thought, fuck it, I'm on my J's. I'll give the equipment away. It's not cool. Like it doesn't make sense. Like watching it back now, I'm glad it's not. I don't think it's online anymore. It's not on YouTube anymore. I'm glad because obviously having kids and that, I don't particularly want them seeing that.
Nah. I think that's what we should do. Next time we get a chance to do this, we can talk about that onwards and having kids and all this shit that's happened since. I can't believe it's taken us 2 hours to get up to this point, to be honest, but that I think there's a lot still to talk about, to be honest, in terms of like that moment on, like you said, talking about your first house and techno gig and 2013 as a year as well, like all the shit that happened that year. And we didn't even get into that Australia tour we done either. That was another mad one. Like, my memories are so hazy of that. Getting carried up
by the
wheeled up
by the
bellboy.
Hotel. It was me, you, and Joker, wasn't it? When Joker lost his shit, there was a spider on Flux Pavilion's back.
Oh my god, mate! Joker wheeled me up to my room in like the luggage cart. I was so smashed.
Proper wheel up.
Oh yeah, even like Boomtown 29. Was that 2019 now? Shit, that long ago.
Yeah.
That's mad. I mean, yeah, like we'll do this again. We'll do this again, definitely.
We will do it again. We'll let a bit more time go by to get some more.
Yeah, exactly. But I think like we've barely scratched the surface here. Like I can't believe.
No, but I think we've touched base on a lot of. I think there's a lot what. All
them stories.
I think we talked about a golden time, which.
The early dubsteps time. Oh, I hope we have. We just lost you already. Is anyone watching? Skream. Are you still there, mate? How's that for timing? He's just cut himself off. Ollie, we need you back, mate. Oh, we've lost him. Let me just text him, make sure he's alright. Gang, it's been amazing. I'm gonna see if he's gonna come back in. We might have lost him for a sec, but we were just getting to the end of it anyway. It was really nice sitting and talking about all that with him, and man, shout out One Basshead, all the gang. We've had some wild nights, me and Ollie. I've known this guy for like 20 years now, maybe. Is it 20 years? About 20 years. So shout out him for joining. If he joins back in, he'll pop straight back up. But we'll get into a part 2, and it'll be all those times that we had beyond, you know, Ollie's career when he took a turn into other genres. I really want to get back into that with him at some point. We can have a little catch up soon and figure that out. But there's so many more things I'd like to talk to him about, especially about his transition into other genres and what that was like, and all little things like, you know, like what was the general feeling from the dubstep audience at that time, all that kind of stuff. But gang, it's been amazing. I've really enjoyed that. Massive shout to Skream. If you want to watch this back, if you missed any of it, you will be able to find it on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Plastician. Go into the videos section and you'll be able to watch it back. Shout out Hijack in the chat as well, who's been mentioned many a time in here. You can't talk about Skream and his upbringing into the game without mentioning Hijack and all of the influence and funny stories that he's been involved in. And that's almost another stream on its own. But yeah, I enjoyed that. We'll do this more, definitely. We'll get some more heads involved. So thank you everyone for joining me on a Sunday. Normally I have a mix on a Sunday, but it was nice to sit down and have a little break. It was good fun. Like I said, we got plenty more stories where those come from as well. So hopefully we can get Skream in again at some stage in the coming months and continue where we left off. Big up everyone, much appreciated. Enjoy the last few moments of your Sunday evening, and I'll catch you back here on Tuesday, where I'll be getting into something. Maybe I'll have a mix on Tuesday. If you did miss last night, Bellamy, I was on there with Kessler in the guest mix, so check that out, bellamy.com, or on their SoundCloud, Mixcloud, etc. Much love everyone. Big shouts and love to Skream for getting involved. It was much appreciated. Yes, Deep Dark and Dangerous set next Saturday. Be locked in for that. Much appreciated everyone. I'll catch you all soon. Until then, peace out, stay safe, and I'll see you real soon. Big up everyone. Cheers.